Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in today. This is the Bodega Cat Book Club Health Edition. And today we're continuing our reading of Never Be Sick Again by Raymond Francis. Okay, today we're going to be reading chapter 5. This will be part 1. Oh, no, sorry. That's not right. Hold on a second. Just 1 minute here. Today is, let's see. Sorry about that. This is chapter 5, part 5. I didn't update my board. Okay. All right, Christina. Let me double check here. Chapter 5. Yeah, chapter 5 is a long chapter. So we had to break it up into yep, chapter 5. Okay, this is part 5. All right. I think the full moon and the eclipse and everything else and the retrogrades and everything else that's going on is kind of making me a little off-centered here. Okay, let's do it. Let me see. I want to make sure that I stop where I'm supposed to stop. Okay, alrighty. All right, this is chapter 5, part 5. Rethink acid indigestion. After leaving the mouth, the chewed enzyme-coated food moves to the stomach and triggers the release of hydrochloric acid and other digestive chemicals that further break down the food before it moves into the small intestine. In fact, until sufficient hydrochloric acid is present and food breakdown takes place, food does not leave the stomach. If undigested food sits in the stomach too long, it forms toxins and poisons you. Adequate hydrochloric acid is critical in the digestive process. People often think that indigestion is caused by too much acid, commonly called acid indigestion. While in some rare cases this diagnosis is valid, the overwhelming majority of acid symptoms originate from the opposite problem, too little hydrochloric acid. As a result, the food does not digest properly and remains in the stomach too long, whereupon the food rots and becomes acidic. Rotting food, not excessive digestive acids, causes an acid burn feeling. Deliberately taking antacid tablets before you eat to prevent acid indigestion is not a good idea. It only makes the bad situation worse. The best remedies for acid indigestion are to pay attention to basic food combining principles and to chew your food well. Supplementing with digestive enzymes can also be helpful. Note, supplementing with hydrochloric acid tablets is also possible, but this much more aggressive measure requires education and careful monitoring. Most absorption of nutrients takes place in the small intestine. By the time it reaches the small intestine, food must have undergone proper digestion. The small intestine extracts nutrients from the food and they enter the bloodstream. Waste products move along to the large intestine where they are excreted from the body. Food not properly processed by the time it reaches the small intestine creates a host of problems. Poorly digested, putrefying, fermenting, and rotting food particles in the intestines create vast amounts of toxins. Undigested food molecules can pass through the intestinal walls and move directly into the bloodstream. In the bloodstream, the body recognizes these food molecules as foreign. The immune system may attack them. This response resembles a classic food allergy. Poor digestion of a food can cause you to become allergic to it. Worse, each allergic reaction damages the intestinal tissue and makes it more permeable, perpetuating the problem. An increasing number of food allergies and numerous other health problems may result. These ongoing allergic reactions can overtax and exhaust the immune system, making you vulnerable to low-grade chronic infections such as chronic sinus infections. Provided the digestive process goes well in the intestines, allowing the proper nutrients to enter the bloodstream, those nutrients must still go to the proper cells and then inside those cells. This activity often requires separate transporter nutrients, amino acids, certain amino acids, for example, that also come from your diet. In other words, nutrients are used for many purposes, including delivery of other nutrients. This is one example of how nutrients work together in tandem and why you cannot afford to miss a single one. Once the necessary nutrients have arrived in target cells, they still need to pass through the cell membranes. If the membrane is not constructed properly, as described in the fats and oils section of the Big Four, new problems arise. Nutrients can have a difficult time being transported through cell membranes constructed from bad fats and oils, hydrogenated oils, refined supermarket oils, deep fried foods, and excessive saturated fats. The final step in proper digestion is the elimination of waste and products, which must be eliminated as quickly and efficiently as possible. Otherwise, toxins may reabsorb back into the body. The best ways to improve bowel function are to eat sufficient fiber, follow proper food combining, and chew food well. If you select a food with good fiber content and then cook it, however, you may be shortchanging yourself. Some of the fiber structure of food can be lost in the cooking process, so be sure not to overcook. Many people find it uncomfortable, even embarrassing, to talk about their body's waste products. Being comfortable with these natural processes is important because one of the simplest ways to measure the health of your digestive system is to be aware of your bowel movements and to note the quality of your stools in terms of frequency, texture, and odor. Most Americans are constipated. Many have a bowel movement only every other day or think that one bowel movement per day is ideal. Not true. If you do not have frequent, efficient elimination, then food wastes remain in your intestines, where they petrify and poison you. Optimal is 2 or 3 bowel movements a day, one at the very least. Loose stools or exceptionally dense stools are reflections of serious problems, especially if they persist. Well-formed and floating is a good rule of thumb. Excessive gases, stomach or intestinal or stool odor may indicate digestive trouble. Be aware of your elimination process. And if you have a problem, take steps to remedy it by following the guidelines in this chapter. Choosing the right dietary supplements. Eating good foods and digesting them well may not be sufficient to make sure your cells receive all the nutrients they need every day. Supplementing your diet with high-quality vitamins, mineral, and essential fatty acid supplements is also important. Supplements have become a necessity in our society for 2 reasons. First, the supply of nutrients is down. Intensive commercial farming, depleted soils, and food processing have reduced the nutritional content of our food so dramatically that our diets no longer contain the nutrients required by our cells to maintain good health. Second, our need for certain nutrients is up because of the effects of environmental pollution, which puts extra stress on the body. Responding to this stress uses up essential nutrients, in particular antioxidants, such as vitamins A, C, and E. With the supply of nutrients down and the need for nutrients up, is it any wonder that 3 out of 4 Americans have a diagnosable chronic disease? Supplementation is necessary to bridge the gap between what we need and what comes from our diet. Most physicians, who on average receive only 2.5 hours of nutritional training during 4 years of medical school, often tell you that supplements are not necessary, that they make little more than expensive urine. The position often taken by the position often taken by physicians, is that you can get all the nutrients you need to maintain health by eating a balanced diet of commercially produced foods. You know by now that this claim is absolutely false. Numerous studies have shown that virtually all Americans are not receiving the recommended amounts of nutrients on a daily basis. Many nutritional researchers, myself included, believe that in our modern world, obtaining the nutrients we need from diet alone, even if we eat good foods, is impossible. Over the last quarter century, research has established that a huge gap exists between the small amounts of nutrients required for preventing overt nutritional deficiency diseases and a large amounts of nutrients required to maintain optimal health and fortify our bodies against disease in general. Dietary supplements help fill the gaps in your nutrition, especially in those nutrients for which you as an individual may have a particularly high need. One final note: supplements are not an invitation to eat a poor diet. They are to be used in addition to healthy foods. Countless people have been cured of chronic health problems by the addition of dietary supplements. Consider Albert, a man who sought my advice several years ago. Albert had been suffering from serious, untreatable depression for almost a decade. He had exhausted his resources going to hospitals, clinics, and physicians, but nothing had helped. His life was a living hell, and he was suicidal. At our first meeting, I learned that he subsisted on a meager diet consisting mostly of processed foods and that he was addicted to sugar. I suggested that he eliminate sugar and incorporate fresh raw fruits and vegetables in his diet. I recommended a supplement program of specific vitamins and essential fatty acids. Albert was skeptical that these seemingly simple suggestions would make any real difference, considering how many expert doctors he had already seen. In less than a week after starting the diet and supplement program, Albert called to say that he felt as if a great burden had been lifted from him. He was no longer feeling suicidal. In all of his years of treatment for clinical depression, I was the first person who had suggested that poor nutrition could be the cause. In fact, poor nutrition is the leading cause of depression and almost every other disease. Although Albert had been taking nutritional supplements before he saw me, he had been taking the wrong kinds of supplements, those with low bioactivity, which means they were in a form that the body could not easily absorb or use. Ultimately, bioactivity is critical to whether supplements will be effective or not. When institutions like the Centers for Disease and Control and Prevention and the National Academy of Sciences have performed large-scale population studies to measure the benefits of taking supplements, they have failed to find any benefits because most people are taking poor quality supplements. Quality is everything, in supplements as well as food. For Albert, dietary quality supplements with high bioactivity at the cellular level made all the difference. Having been a technical consultant to vitamin companies, I can tell you that all of the vitamin products on the market today, few actually do much good. An investigative report aired on NBC's Today Show in 1990 determined that 36% of the multivitamin brands tested did not dissolve soon enough to be absorbed and be of use to the body. In fact, some never dissolved at all. These failures included only the most popular brands. The numbers of failing brands would have been far higher had all the minor brands been measured. NBC's testing also allowed a generous 1 hour for the pills to dissolve. Using a more conservative and appropriate time of 45 minutes would have made almost half the tested brands fail. Almost half of all vitamin brands are not going to do your body any good, yet these are what most people use. One reason that these brands fail is because they're filled with additives, which can constitute up to half of the volume of the pill. That means they're not pure. That means they're diluted. These additives are used as fillers, binders, lubricants, colors, and preservatives, but they can cause real problems, not by interfering with the pill's ability to dissolve and with nutrient absorption, but also introducing many harmful contaminants and allergens into your body. Most vitamins marketed today are synthetics and often contain petroleum residues from their manufacture. Some of these synthetic molecules are fundamentally different from natural vitamins, which affect the ability of your body to utilize them. For example, synthetic vitamin E is far less biologically active than vitamin E derived from natural sources. Synthetic beta carotene actually can cause a deficiency of other carotenes. Nutritional supplements are available at different levels of quality and price because of the variety of manufacturing processes used to create them. Each brand exhibits different properties and bioactivities. Trying to select a vitamin brand can be a bewildering experience. I find that comparing two different brands with exactly the same list of ingredients was not even possible. But how these ingredients are made is just as important as what is printed on the label. Unless you are a chemist or you know exactly how the supplement was made and how the body metabolizes nutrients, distinguishing the difference between two seemingly identical products is almost impossible. The initial quality, chemical form, age of the ingredients, how they were handled, whether or not they were exposed to moisture, heat, light, and oxygen during their storage or manufacture, and what other chemicals they're combined with in the formula has everything to do with the bioactivity of the final supplement. When I was recovering from my chemical sensitivity, I was unable to take most vitamins because of their chemical contaminants. Vitamin supplements are critically important in my recovery process, but first I had to find pills that were pure, biologically active, and uncontaminated. The contaminants in most pills that were making me sick also tax the health of people who are healthy, even if they are not aware of it. Seeking manufacturers who use quality ingredients along with good manufacturing practices is vitally important. Most of the supplements on the market today are not worthwhile, as many do not contain what is professed on the labels, and many are even toxic, contaminated by substances such as heavy metals, solvent residues, pesticides, artificial colors, and allergens. The supplement market is unregulated. You simply cannot trust vitamin pills unless you know how they were made. Even the best-selling brands of vitamins are not something I would take myself or recommend to others. Although you cannot always trust labels, I have developed some convenient rules of thumb that help me to quickly evaluate the quality of vitamin supplements. First, check to see if cheap ingredients can be recognized on the label. Cheap ingredients usually suggest that the remainder of the product is not of high quality. Does cost matter? Yes, because it costs more to purchase pure ingredients than that are in the more bioactive forms. For example, calcium carbonate is an ingredient used in many mineral formulas, supposedly to supply calcium, and it does to a certain degree, but very inefficiently. Compounds such as calcium citrate, calcium fumarate, or calcium malate are far more biologically active and are much better choices. However, they are much more expensive. The uneducated consumer seeking a calcium supplement will usually choose a formula based on price or appearance or how much calcium it contains, rather than chemical composition and bioactivity. Paying attention to the chemical composition of the nutrients is more important. Some chemical forms are better than others because of their superior bioavailability. The poor ones should be avoided. Below are some guidelines for choosing the quality of minerals supplements. Poor bioactivity, carbonate, e.g., calcium carbonate, e.g., magnesium oxide. Oh, Sorry, let's do that again. Poor bioactivity, carbonate, e.g. calcium carbonate, oxide, e.g. magnesium oxide, or sulfate phosphate. Acceptable bioactivity includes aminoate, chelate, and gluconate. And optimal bioactivity, absorbate, citrate, fumarate, malate, picolinate, ciconate, tartrate. So this is the column that you want, optimal bioactivity. Now, look at the vitamins. The easiest way is to check the B vitamins, specifically vitamins B2 and B6. In a high-quality formula, vitamin B2 riboflavin will also be accompanied by its more expensive and bioactive form, riboflavin 5-phosphate. Similarly, with vitamin B6, pyridoxine hydrochloride, a high-quality formula will also contain the more expensive and bioactive form, pyridoxal 5-phosphate. No foolproof way exists to check out a vitamin product without knowing exactly what is going into the product, how old the ingredients are, how they have been shipped, handled, and stored, and how pure they are. Taking those steps that you can do on your own will bring you closer to buying an effective product. A list of the products I have selected for my own use can be found in Appendix C. We'll look at Appendix C later. Tasty choices. The choices you face as you select a diet each day rests on a combination of the nutritional content of the foods balanced against your own personal taste. Taste is acquired and is based largely on what we are familiar with. A new taste can be acquired simply by eating something new for a few weeks. I found that I lost my taste for a lot of the less desirable foods I used to enjoy. While taste and pleasure in eating are important and even psychologically beneficial, plenty of healthy foods are pleasurable to eat. Our productive, fast-paced modern lifestyles combined with misinformation about nutrition can make the right choices difficult to identify. These lifestyles create a demand for processed, prepared, speedy, convenience foods, regardless of economic status or educational level. More parents than ever are working to support their families, while fewer and fewer are staying at home to tend gardens and prepare wholesome meals. Many of us no longer even eat at home. We eat in cafeterias, restaurants, and fast food chains where processed foods are the norm. This is not a sexist statement, but there is a reason, just a side note here. There is a reason why women stay at home, cook, and, do household chores and raise the kids and all that stuff, in the other older generations. It's probably 2 or 3 generations ago, right? Where men go out and work and then women stay at home. It takes a lot of time to do domestic chores. Takes time to cook, takes time to clean, takes time to take care of the kids. And I'm I'm an equal opportunity gender, whatever you want to call it. I have no problem with men staying home and doing all that stuff. But there is a reason why somebody is at home doing the things, because it takes a lot of time and energy to do that. Anyways, just a side note there. The food we ate yesterday is still affecting us today. And the food we eat at our next meal will affect our awareness, energy level, ability to think, learn, and remember, as well as our mood and behavior. When we eat in a week or a month or a year, what we eat in a week or a month or a year determines our biological makeup and our health, as well as the health of our children and grandchildren. And sorry, just another side note. It was interesting. I remember RFK, Robert Kennedy Jr. said, in the 40s and 50s, there weren't any obese people. That's because everybody was eating at home. Now we have a lot of obese people because Most people are eating out. And it's a hard transition. It really is. Um, and cooking is a lost art, in my opinion. Anyways, you must always remember that the biological reason for eating is to supply your cells with the nutrients they need on a daily basis. Becoming healthy and staying well with a diet of processed foods laced with sugar and processed oils is impossible. You are what you eat. Your life and health depend on the foods you choose. You face these choices at every meal you eat for the rest of your life, so embrace it. You now know how to choose good from the bad. Avoid the big four, eat real living food as nature provides, and take high quality supplements. To move yourself in the right direction on the nutritional pathway, start now to give your cells all the nutrients they need every day, and they will thank you with the gift of good health. End of chapter 5. Let's see. Let's check out Appendix C. We might read that after we read the rest of the book, but just take a little sneak peek here and see what they got. Okay, so Appendix C is about foods and personal products. Let's see, they got cleaning cloth. I'm glad that he gets into the cleaning supplies too, and personal stuff like deodorant and soap and things like that. Let's see, deodorants, fats and oils. Okay, so this section we will read at the end of the book. And, it's also good to kind of go back and pause certain areas, like the supplements, for example. I think that takes a little while to digest because the information is so new. So it's good to kind of go back and take notes and digest and work and look at different vitamins, supplements when you go to just a suggestion. When you go to Sprouts or any of the health food stores, start reading the label and getting familiar with all the ingredients that's in there and compare it to, the ingredients that we read in this chapter today. And that's kind of how you learn, you take little bits and pieces of information at a time, and then you kind of work it into your lifestyle a little bit at a time. So that it takes a while, and that kind of helps the brain digest and be familiar with a lot of the vocabularies and things like that. It's almost like learning a new language. It really is. Anyways, well, I hope you enjoyed that very much, and we will continue our reading next week. Okay, and put in the comments below how you guys are doing. If you guys have taken up any challenges, if you guys have made any changes, if you have what your progress is or not, because I know sometimes it's hard to take the first step and start doing things. I know it's hard. So no judgment here. You just have to go at your own pace. And sometimes you need to ask for help, ask for accountability, and that's okay too. That's what we're here for. This is what our community is all about. So anyways, I hope you guys have a great day, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye now.